Hey, good morning. Hope everybody's doing good. Hey, it's Coach Al back with you. Welcome to WTTZ. Welcome to the zone. What zone are we talking about? Of course, the negative free zone. Time to talk about staying free in this place, in this space that we live called life. There's a lot to keep us from doing that. A lot. You know, the things we invest our time and energies in, the things that meaning something to us. Uh, it can take us on an emotional roller coaster ride, can't it? You know, a lot of similarities to this past weekend with our fan base here. Of course, the Alabama fan base we're talking about. So I kind of want to get back with you a little bit after the dust has settled a little bit. All of the playoff implications going around and performance expectations not being met or being met. But just kind of wanted to lower the temperature in the room a little bit. Yours included. I'm guilty. Had a lot of expectations for this team. I think that a lot of them were met because when you step back and look at the grand scheme of things, second year of the DeBoer era, you win the SEC season contest. You play some tremendous games. You make some tremendous strides with players on the defensive ball. Oh, let me digress a little bit. This is the negative free zone. So what I'm going to talk about today is not necessarily from a perspective of criticality in the way it comes across in a negative connotation. That's not who I am. Not going to happen. We're going to keep it real 100%. But just kind of wanted to make a little video today about some things that were on my mind after the dust has settled. And just seeing the landscape of the fan base and the national media talking about that sport. And that's why I say, you know, the whole idea of return investment, what we invest ourselves into, we got to be careful with that. You know, it's still just a game. It's a game that we enjoy, but still the investment is very real, ain't it? And our expectations of what we invest in sometimes don't come up to what we expect. It's like in our investments and such, and the people in our lives. They disappoint us sometimes, but we have to overcome that and see the good in everything. That's the way you have to look at life. But on to the game. You know, let's step back from this. You know, the attrition factor is real. Over the season, that's a mental and a physical thing. And it's not just the players, it's the coaches too, the support staff. And for a season to be successful, all of that has to come together. And you have to have a little luck too to go along with that. So I think you can't ignore that. And you have to take that this year in year two, okay, of DeBoer, and start to help manage your staff to manage the season and the attrition, kind of like the NFL, how they play it with their practice squads and their injury reserve and all of that stuff, and taking care of players' health and mental health, okay? That's very important too, you know. One thing I know I've seen in years is the elite teams, especially in this time of year, they stay true to their identity, and by luck and a lot of things like that, they're the least banged up teams. They're the most healthy teams, mentally and physically, especially in their key personnel that they need to execute what they try to do. So I think all in all, you got to step back and pump the brakes and kind of moderate your investment into Alabama and just see what the big picture is. I think we got the right guy with DeBoer as a leader. Maybe his staff has to kind of be tweaked a little bit in terms of the SEC landscape and scheme, and you know how they want to really approach this thing from an identity standpoint. I don't think it's really fair. It's not fair to compare DeBoer to Saban. I think the guilt thing that the Alabama fan base is guilty of is comparing Alabama to Alabama, and that's under Nick Saban in the last 17 years. So 99% of the guys that coached the game forever can't compare to Nick. So let's just start from there and look at what happens in year two with DeBoer. Okay, they win 10 games. Defense showed that they can play ball. Early on in the year, the offense looked pretty good. So they're still piecing it together. So I'm very optimistic, stock up for this team. Not even this year. I mean, you never know with this team. And this is not a feel-good show. I'm not trying to pump smoke up you. I'm just calling it like I see it because I'm always going to be glass half full. But I think DeBoer is the guy to lead Alabama back to a championship. I'm going to get a lot of smoke from that because of how people feel about the way this team has performed down the stretch. But every program has to find its way. And to do it under the microscope of the Alabama fan base and to do it to the level that he's done is pretty good in my book. I don't think too many guys would have walked into Saban's shoes right after he retired, lose a third of the team in the portal, have to recruit 2/3 of your team, still recruit, still put together a coaching staff and the people in the building that are on your side in terms of your goals, your focus, your vision. And that happened in less than 2 years. In the first year, you had a successful season record-wise, tied for the most wins of a first-year head coach in Alabama history. That's just painting the landscape with a broad brush, to step back and pump the brakes and look at what happened in the historical context at Alabama. I'm not diving so much into the emotions of what happened at the Georgia game. That was a whole different animal right there. The game just kind of got away from you. Some of your key people were not in place to help you execute the game plan offensively that never had a chance to materialize. Again, some of that is scheme, some of that's coaching, some of that's personnel, some of that, all of the above. But let's say, look at it this way. When Saban was at Bama, and he came through, he was mashing people in 2010, 2011, these big, huge linebackers and punishing running game and suffocating defense for Kirby calling it. That was a beautiful thing to watch until Saban and that structure of his team ran up against a hurry-up, no-huddle spread offense, as he called it, fastball. In fact, he was a huge proponent against the hurry-up, no-huddle offense, thinking that it was going to contribute to injuries and such. And once he figured out that's where the game was going, Saban being the genius that he is, he's changed. Let that sink in for a minute. Give DeBoer a chance to change. Don't you think this guy has a high IQ? Look at what he's had to do. I don't think 99% of us could have done what he's done under the pressure and scrutiny at that level, what he's been able to accomplish. Now, what did Saban do? He called Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin radically changed Saban's offense to fit his scheme. Mind you, Lane Smith radically changed his offense to fit Saban's scheme. Genius. Spread it out, RPOs, the ride outs came into effect. We're out the gate. But we still had the running game, we still had the stifling defense. We were solid all across the board because Nick was at the helm, but he changed. And he constantly evolved. When he had Sark in, Nick's Achilles heel was this. He lost Kirby. He lost his stalwart defensive coordinator captain, with that mentality, and he missed on Pete Golden. He missed on offensive line coaches. So structurally, you started to see a decay in Alabama, but Nick held it together. Incredible. But yet it's still, I guess, DeBoer has to earn his credits to get a pass. So I'm just trying to break it down to you, okay? All right, I'm just trying to break that down to you. Let that sink in for a minute. This is in Alabama. I mean, everybody's looking at you. There are jokes out all over the internet. Dead elephants laying on us, calling the paramedics on dead elephants in Atlanta, all right? So I'm just trying to put it out there in some perspective. I'm trying to add some perspective because life is like that. We can't get so caught up in those things where we lose our perspective on life, our lives, okay? How we choose to live and how things that we put above all else that just tick us off and get us off and we get so angry with people that we can't even be talked with or to, okay? But I'm gonna get back on it. Bama is probably one great O-line coach, a couple of elite running backs away, and the right O-line personnel with the mix with the O-line coach to be right back in the championship. especially with the way we're playing defense. What can hinder that is attrition on the coaching staff. And again, we go back to that word attrition. It is impactful to your season. Let's don't get that twisted, how you manage that. And also the other piece of that, the kicking game. We got to get back solid in that. Any good team is solid in all three phases. And you can see in the last two games that we played against Oklahoma and Georgia, the kicking game came into play with field position, just the whole nine. We got to clean that up. Those are things that's low-hanging fruit, I think, that we can capitalize on as far as this year's team. It's not over yet. I'm not throwing this team under the bus. I had some strong words because the game was still very real and ever present in terms of expectations. But some of that's legit because you try to make the game and break it down to its fundamental elements and execute your fundamentals tighter than anybody, especially when the pressure's on. It tends to speed you up mentally and get your anxiety level up where you forget your training. But if you're fundamentally sound, you fall back on that and the nerves kind of calm down and you execute. So that's all I'm trying to say. This year's team is not dead yet. There's a lot of ifs. But I thought that we were trending, especially, and I'm going to get some smoke from this, in our O-line. All right? I don't think all year long the O-line had the key guys with the right mix that was healthy at the same time. So it looked like you're just shuffling guys. Okay, but we're not in the building. We're not looking at the tape, the practice tape. We don't see any of that. But my experience is telling me that there's been a lot of work being put in. It's just that you're this far away from getting that thing to click, and the season is moving. So it's hard to really get a handle on that. You look at the teams that are successful in running the football, they had the chemistry going into the season. They had the right five guys, and they had some health. So it allowed the guys that it was second string to sit back and watch, get some practice reps with the ones to keep your five guys healthy instead of getting beat up all day. So that's an intricate, it's like a good watch with the O-line running. So, I'm going to get some smoke, but I'm going to say this. If we get Dewberry back, healthy enough to compete for the whole game, not to be subbed out, you get Brailsford healthy. You keep Formby in at right guard, and you keep Carroll in at right tackle, and Proc at left tackle. If those guys can practice the next couple of weeks together, all right, we might be surprised. Again, this is the negative-free zone. So I'm going to spin it positive. Not unrealistic, but I'm going to spin it positive as the way I see it projected. From a positive connotation, not a negative connotation. Because it's easy to go through life always thinking negative. I'm not built that way. I'm not wired that way. The Creator didn't wire me that way. The Creator's not that way. So I'm tapped into an infinite source of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. How can I be negative for anything, for everything that was created that surrounds us is in balance? I'm attuned with that. Can you get with that? How about that? Okay. Just going down my little list here. Oh yeah, there was a couple things that Coach Sean and I talked about. What's up, Coach Sean? And we were talking about double standard as it relates to the productivity, non-productivity, the play of our quarterbacks for the last 2 years. And, I, guilty, was thinking that, our current quarterback was getting a pass for performance. No knock against him, but you're the quarterback at Alabama. Fact. Going all the way back to the days of Joe Willie Namath. You're under the microscope. So if you choose to sign your name on a scholarship and play quarterback at Alabama, you got to take the good with the bad. You got to have some tough skin. You got to be mature enough. You got to have some true swag to be the starter at Alabama. Because when you win the championships, when you win big games, that's the standard you're going to be judged by. And you got to be willing to step up there to the podium when you lose. And it's on you. Yeah, the coaches call the plays. They set the game plan. But at the end of the day, players make plays. That's the bottom line. You got to get in the huddle and look at those guys. Hey, get open. I know we got called. This is what they doing. I'm going to check. If you're there, I'm going to hit you. Okay? If you're not, you know what the deal is. But play ball. Make a play. Let's go. That's football. And you got to make plays. You got to play football. Okay? That's the way it works. If you got the ball in your hands, then every play, it starts with you and the center. I think that's the way football's played. So the fan base is coming after you, good and bad. What makes that work is that you prove them all wrong. As they say, let the naysayers know. I'm all with that. So I'm down with 15 still. I think he got some potential. I think he got to get out of his own way, and they got to shrink the playbook for him so he can play faster and help his team move the chains. He's got to be an integral factor using his feet and his legs and get back to who you are, Ty, okay? Dude, I know you was running around all the way around the high school and making plays like that. That's still you, man. Free up, let go, ball out. Quit overthinking it, bro. Go out there and have some fun again. You look like you're not having fun, man. You like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders, baby. And maybe you need to come over and let me show you how to get in the zone. So you can insulate yourself from the negative construct that we live in for fact. That impact us all on a daily basis. The connotations of negativity are ever present. It's just like the airwaves we talking across right now, WTTZ, welcome to the zone. The key is, are you dialed in to get it? If you dial into a radio station, you want to hear what that radio station is saying, but what happens if you move out of range? You don't get it. Thank goodness for streaming services, because this station is always open, baby. The source of all knowledge is never closed. It never sleeps. It never slumbers. You just got to tap into the right things with the right people around you to insulate yourself so you can perform irregardless of what is ever present. It's just whether you tapped into that or you tapped into the right thing. Get with that. Anyway, I can go on. I like our chances against OU. I really like our chances against OU. I've said it all along this year. This team has character. I'm not going to back off of that because I think they do. They've shown it. Even in the Georgia game, they didn't quit. No, the ball didn't bounce our way. We didn't have the momentum, and we did some things to shoot ourselves in the foot, self-inflicted, but they did not quit. This team does not quit. We've had some discussions about culture in the building. Yeah. It's not Nick Saban's culture. Okay? So just like that, there's some negative to that culture, but there's a new age, and there may be a different way of doing it. So is the culture bad? We don't know. We're not in the building. What we judge culture on is the results on the field and how effective that is. TBD. This is year 2. Okay? And this is the day that the Lord has made. Hey, look. Be glad and rejoice in that. This is Coach Al coming to you from the Negative Free Zone. WTTZ, welcome to the zone. As always, we're going to spin it freely over here. Keep that 6-inch space between your ears freed up. Elevate your thinking to those things of higher living with your wisdom and peace, understanding, and joy. Okay? That's a higher order of thinking. Anger, negativity, jealousy, all that stuff is negative orders of thinking. It's gonna cause you to underperform in your life because that's what you'll be focused on now. How about that? My focus is staying free here. If you do that, it allows you to tap in constantly. Oh, looks like an antenna on it. Anyway, y'all, till the next time, Coach Al, come and check me out on the Negative Free Zone. Remember to hit the likes. I'm not doing this to do anything to give glory to God. because he's given me an opportunity to share the wonderful life that he's given me, that maybe in some small way it can channel through me to you from him. And that's real, 100%. Stay free.